What's the weirdest / most disgusting thing you've ever seen at a party? Story 1. More bizarre than weird or disgusting. I was invited to a bachelor party for a guy I don't know, probably around 1982. Arrived to a backyard party with a decent size in-ground pool, hibachi barbecues, a couple kegs tapped. There's a 35 to 40 foot boat on blocks in the yard, outboards are often in parts on a table nearby. There's probably 100 guys there, mostly college swimmers. I know about half of them. As the night progresses, about 10 guys are on the roof of the house passing around a bottle of scotch, another 50 or so people have arrived, more are on the way. The barbecue guys move the hibachis onto the boat to keep drunks from falling on the grills. It's getting crowded. The drunks decide to put the boat in the pool, maybe 50 to 60 guys shove this thing into the pool, which sends water everywhere around the pool deck, but also knocks the hibachi grills over into the boat. Seems like an easy fire to put out, but it wasn't. Next thing I know, the pool deck is mobbed with drunk college athletes. They're all trying to splash water onto the boat, beer from the keg taps, ice, a plastic tarp, garden hose, and it's just getting worse. The smoke is choking the guys on the roof, so they're trying to get down. It's only about 12 to 15 feet, but they're drunk. Some ground-based drunks try to do the human pyramid thing to get them down. The rain gutter pulls away from the house. Lots of shouting, some of it angry, there's going to be a fight soon, plus there's a boat on fire in a pool. Time to go. I grab the 2 guys I came to the party with and we bolt. We pass police cars and fire trucks coming the other way. A couple days later there's an article in the local paper with a picture of the groom getting married in the hospital, but no real details about why he fell off a roof and broke his leg 2 days before his wedding. He could not go to the reception. The honeymoon postponed to a later date. No mention of a party or a fire. From other friends I learned that, other than the groom, there were no serious injuries. Damage was confined to the boat, the pool, and the rain gutter. That was probably a fascinating homeowner insurance claim. Story 2. Girl was on something and just pulled down her pants and pooped in front of everyone. Party cleared out real fast after that. Story 3. A buddy of mine brought a girl to a party we were having. They were wasted and making out against my car when she turned to throw up all over the hood. He comes over to me to apologize for his date and I told him they should clean it off and he said, "Oh no, I did already, I peed on it to get it off." Story 4. So for context, there's a beach in Texas we used to go to on the weekends in my former hometown. Basically, people play loud music and drink and either walk around on the beach or drive from one end to the other back and forth. Thousands of people. Lots of craziness like flashing, or people straight up fucking on the beach. It was always absolutely bananas. So anyway, one time I saw one of my former classmates riding on the hood of a car but naked dancing for everybody. Then she pulls her tampon out and starts swinging it around. Story 5. A girl none of us knew appeared inside the house, began hiding beers in the fridge around the apartment, started numerous arguments with the host and their friends, then proudly declared she has lesions on her brain and surgery tomorrow, and that we were all assholes. We told her she needed to go and she took 2 more beers, flipped us off and stole the lit cigarette from a girl on the back porch as she stumbled off into the night. Story 6. At a house party with my boyfriend and a bunch of coworkers. It was late, like 3 a.m. and everyone was pretty wasted. Most of us were playing beer pong in the garage. I had to go pee so I went inside. I opened the bathroom door and the owner of the company's granddaughter was naked on her knees in the shower while 2 guys were pissing on her. Her boyfriend was in the garage and one of the guys lived there. His pregnant wife was asleep upstairs. I turned around and went back to the garage. A minute later one of the guys came out into the garage laughing about how Trina wanted them to piss on her so they did. I felt so bad for her boyfriend. He was mortified. Story 7. My college roommate used a beer bong to chug a beer with it inserted into his rectum because it gets you drunker. He then stood and forcefully projected diarrhea around the room on pretty much every surface. He then confiscated all of our phones and wouldn't give them back because he thought we secretly recorded it. Edit, grammar mistake bothered me. Also, this person now has his own medical practice. Insanely brilliant and wildly eccentric, but I guess those two often go hand in hand. Story 8. A guy I knew would take any dare anyone handed him after he was drunk to a certain point. A bong was sitting there, so someone tells him to drink the bong water, and this was some disgusting ass bong water that hadn't been changed in so long. IRC he got a gulp or two down before both spilling the rest on the carpet and puking on himself. The room reeked like vomit and mold/mildew. Story 9. I've seen a drunken army man in full uniform deep throat a dildo in the middle of a kitchen full of people as they were chillin' and snacking. I mean, it was weird because it wasn't that type of party. He had just found one of the people's dildos, don't even ask me how, and thought it would be funny to take it downstairs into the kitchen where we all were and stick it down a throat. Awkward. Story 10. There was an old bowl of canned clam chowder someone didn't finish for dinner on the table. Someone poured a generous amount of rum chata, cinnamon-flavored cream liqueur, into it and started calling it clam chowder. One girl was very drunk and hungry, ate it knowing what it was, claimed it was good, then threw up a bit into the bowl. She proceeded to finish the bowl and continued claiming it was tasty. Story 11. Chick in the walk-in closet making herself available to any person that walked in. Wasn't hired, wasn't paid, just liked to do it. Story 12. I was at a house party with one bathroom. All night there was one guy being obnoxious and passing out every few minutes. Laying down for 15, then getting up, drinking more, rinse and repeat. Eventually he passed out in the one bathroom, which caused outrage as people had to relieve themselves. A hero tried climbing a drain pipe to get into the bathroom window. On his first attempt he fell about 6 feet and landed on a bin that broke. 3 guys at the foot of the drain pipe helped him up and one said, "Yo, fuck that bin." The 4 of them collectively stamped and kicked the bin like it owed them money until it was in many pieces. Story 13. House party back in the 90s. Local punk band playing hard in the living room. There was a strobe light lighting the band/pit. This will be important later. A friend of mine was passed out on the floor propped up against a wall. Just sitting there, totally out of it. My brother snuck up on him and started moving his lower lip like he was singing along. Jostling him around upset him, and he projectile vomited into the pit, with a strobe light lighting the scene. You could watch his puke fly through the air, blink blink blink, splash splash splash, like a scene from a horror movie. Story 14. In my 40s, I went to a girls' night out at a friend's house. After a few drinks, the local high school assistant principal took off her clothes and was wearing a teddy. She got on all fours on a coffee table and pretended to be having sex from behind. Disturbing. Story 15. A dude having violent diarrhea in a Sonic 44-ounce styrofoam cup. This was in the backyard of a friend's house with perhaps 100 people at the party. He was squatted over the cup holding his balls up with one hand and holding the cup with his other and shitting his brains out. It was more than 44 ounces and he missed the majority of it. Took about 15 seconds from dropping pants to pulling them up, doing his belt and walking through the side gate to the front yard. It was amazing and horrifying. Story 16. Probably about 15 years ago, I saw this guy, absolutely plastered, get dared to walk on glowing charcoal from the fire pit, then proceed to walk into the fire pit rather than on top of the 2 bits that the other guy had taken out for this purpose. He luckily was wearing shorts and the fire had begun dying down, so he didn't catch on fire, but he suffered some serious burns. Crazy thing is he was smiling the entire time like, LOL, aren't I crazy? Story 17. I met this man on 3 separate occasions, and I literally only ever knew him as the captain. I don't do drugs, but my friend certainly did. We were at a party and my buddy asked some girl where he could find some Molly, and she says, "You'll have to talk to the captain," and just walks away. We were absolutely fucking mystified as to what that meant. Like an answer to our prayers, the crowd splits for a second and this dude with a comically large pirate hat just appears right in front of us. My friend goes, "Are you, the captain?" Without a word he smiles, and takes off his hat revealing a massive bag of Gatorade Blue Molly that was taped to the inside. Then he hands my buddy a little dime bag, gives a very convincing "yarg," and disappears into the crowd. I laughed so hard I almost puked, and I swear every time I saw this dude it was like he was some mysterious pirate deity that would suddenly appear with the sole purpose of giving people free drugs and then disappear again. Really more awesome than weird, but still my favorite party story to tell. Story 18. Definitely the time the guy I was dating for 4 months brought me to his best friend's house party. I was like 20 lol, I liked mingling so I was chatting it up with his friends and whatnot. I noticed dude had disappeared, some of his friends also noticed and walked around with me to find him. We proceeded to walk in on him in the middle of a threesome with his best friend's GF and a random lady. Fight broke out, cops were called, and I left and never spoke to any of them again. Oof. Story 19. Most disgusting, a dude hopped on top of a dresser and pierced his own junk with a hammer and nail. Weirdest, a couple had gotten married in high school. We were all hanging out at my cousin's house, drinking and smoking. The couple starts arguing, they go outside. A few minutes later, the guy runs into the house screaming, blood all over the back of his shirt. She had stabbed him in the back. We called an ambulance. My boyfriend at the time took the wife to the hospital because she insisted on being there for him. They both got detained on the way. They actually stayed married for over 10 years. Story 20. I once experienced a pepper party. Literally stoned people throwing black pepper around on the kitchen floor and sneezing with great exuberance. Story 21. At an outdoor camping party a guy in a gold Speedo stumbled over to my friends and I and was talking super fast. We couldn't understand a word he said except "wanna see a helicopter?" I was asking what that is and before I finished asking he whipped his dick out and started flinging it around in a counterclockwise motion. We all took off running and now I know what a helicopter is. Story 22. Saw a guy swim naked across a countertop to eat a bar of soap. He was very high. Story 23. Mid-1980s. I was at a party where cocaine was piled up on saucers and you helped yourself with little spoons. Little spoons you used to get at McDonald's. Story 24. Had a party at my place, night was ending, most people were out. I went to use the guest bathroom before bed and a friend was passed out hugging it. Went to use my bathroom and my roommate is hugging it, so I peed in the tub and went to bed. In the morning I go to use the bathroom and there is a paint splatter style outline where someone else had tried to pee over him. Ends up being his brother who also peed all over all of the Christmas presents because he thought he was outside peeing on a tree. Story 25. Party was full swing, lots of people, alcohol and weed flowing on every floor of a 3 to 4 story house. Suddenly we hear a baby crying upstairs, which was bizarre as nobody there had a baby. Moments later, the mother was located on another floor, and she was completely hammered. She was young, 19, and vaguely known by a number there but apparently she had felt left out due to being a young parent and after failing to find a babysitter, she had decided to get drunk anyway and crash her older brother's house party, whereupon after sneaking in she abandoned her baby on the top floor so that she could go socialize downstairs. When the brother realized the baby was his nephew, and his sister was drunk and at the party, he went straight upstairs and tried to convince her to go home with the baby. But his insistence just unleashed this tsunami of rage in his drunken sister and seeing red, she grabbed a portable heater and started swinging it in circles by its wire, trying to land a blow on her brother like it was a medieval mace. Her brother tried to leg it but she chased after him, still swinging the portable heater around, taking chunks of plaster and masonry out of the walls all the way down the spiral stairs and beyond. She was only stopped after 2 big guys restrained her whilst another, who had remained sober as a designated driver, took her baby to a cousin's house where it could sleep safe for the night. Definitely the craziest thing I've seen at a house party. Both she and the trail of destruction she left behind were quite mad. Story 26. I was somebody's weird moment. At a house party back in the early 90s, ended up getting really baked in the basement with my roommate and this musician dude, who was like twice our age. We're having a good time, and the dude mentions how bad he has the munchies. He says the best chips for when he has the munchies are this specific brand of kettle-cooked chips. I'd kill for some right now. So I pull a bag of them out of a coat pocket. Pretty awesome, right? Little while later he says how much he likes chocolate when stoned, especially this specific mint chocolate one, and how hard they are to find. I smile, and pull one out of my pocket. By the end of the night, I had done it 4 times, pulling specific snacks out of different pockets. Plus, I was so stoned I was in silent Bob mode. Dude was like, I don't know if that was awesome or scary. Story 27. A guy who was so drunk that he first peed out the window and then puked all over the heating. Because the heating was on and he didn't clean it up right away, the next morning the whole room smelled like puke and the puke had soaked into the carpet. Story 28. Years ago a casual acquaintance shows up to a party, an immigrant with limited English ability. He got drunk like the rest of us and crashed on the couch. The next morning he vomited all over the couch. Just gurgled it up all over the place. I helped clean it up and we sent him on his way, but the thing I can't get out of my mind was how weird that vomit was. It was pitch black, gooey, and smelled odd. It freaked me out, but I just assumed it must have been something to do with the kind of food he ate. He seemed fine, albeit hungover, but thinking about it now really makes me worry if he was really okay, like could he have been suffering some kind of internal bleeding without any means to be checked out? Story 29. Went to a frat house party while visiting my friends at their college. Dude walks up not even trying to hide it and drops a pill in my friend's roommate's drink and just starts a conversation like nothing happened. Shit hit the fan, everyone started yelling, and we all got kicked out because he was in the frat and we were targeting him for no reason. Story 30. If this is weird but kinda funny. Was at a high school party and I saw some guys in a circle passing a pipe. I'm thinking stoner circle, so I roll one up real quick to join in. Showed them and they're like, let's clear the bowl. They hand it to me and it looks weird and nothing is green. I'm like, what is this? One guy goes, meth. I say, oh, y'all are doing real drugs. I'm not about that, so I'm just gonna light up the J. Pretty cool dudes in all honesty, but I wasn't down for that circle. Story 31. Right after college, we got a big group of our friends to go on a ski trip. There were about 25 of us, and we all stayed in a big log cabin. One night after skiing, as we were all partying, we started to notice something dripping from the ceiling. We go upstairs and find one of our friends' boyfriends passed out in the middle of the floor with a huge pile of vomit near his head. Since it was a log cabin and the floorboards weren't completely flush with each other, the vomit was seeping through and dripping down into the kitchen. Ujich. Story 32. Friend of mine was a pizza spot late at night while drunk. Few bites into his slice he pukes on himself and slice and continues eating the slice. People around him rightfully freaked out and he got yelled by the dudes behind the counter to leave. Story 33. Girl shit herself in the frat house tub, and then fell in it in her party dress. By herself. She had to be dragged out by her feet, sobbing and blackout drunk by her sisters. Leaving a trail of shit. Story 34. Some asshole brought an acoustic guitar and insisted on playing Wonderwall for everyone. Story 35. Morning after a beach party, I didn't sleep, but as the sun was rising, 4 of the surfer dudes started smoking meth together and telling me it was better than coffee before a surf. Suddenly made sense why they didn't need wetsuits in freezing water. Another time a buddy and I went out on the town in a city we had never been to before. We thought we could get accommodation on the night. However, everything was fully booked. So we just partied on, and towards closing time we went to a Turkish bar and smoked some hookah. The table next to us was crowded with large islander guys and they invited us to join. We ended up going home with them as they were nice enough to offer us shelter after hearing our story. Woke up the next morning to breakfast and joints, then they all put their gang patches on and dropped us off back at our car, rolling on the floor laughing, nicest blokes ever. Story 36. The weirdest was a party I was at in high school. The host, brother and sister twins, started doing lines of coke with their mom that had been hiding in her bedroom the whole time. That's when I knew it was time to leave. Most disgusting was a party in college at an apartment and a dude kept the door to his bedroom open while he was having a threesome. Story 37. My friend was sitting next to a girl on a couch. The girl had to puke. She began to puke. A wide wad of thick puke slid out of her mouth and down her chin. She somehow managed to slurp it all back up. In that moment, my friend made his move and they started to make out. This happened rapidly. It was just a couple of seconds. Story 38. A guy at a party, but like a smallish party, more like a group hang, smoked and drank way too much, and maybe more stuff, and couldn't make it to the bathroom, so his friends brought the trash can over to him. I was sitting on the other side of the living room watching in horror as he puked his guts up into the can, and then stood up and pulled his pants down and emptied out the other end too. In liquid form. I ran out of there so fast. Story 39. This isn't disgusting, but definitely weird and hilarious. I was at a Halloween party with my friend, a few years ago. This part isn't the story, but was just a fun part of the night. I was dressed as Jesus, and at the beginning of the party I found someone dressed as a priest. He came up to me and handed me his Bible, and told me to read a verse out of it. So I opened it up and it had a flask in it. Him and I were best friends all night. Now the actual story, there was some guy dressed up as a mime, and I never saw him say a word all night. Dude was dedicated. My buddy and I were drinking from a handle of Jack Daniels all night, and near the end of the night we were on the dance floor with about 1/3 of the handle left. The mime walks up to us, points at the Jack, points at his mouth, and makes the please hand gesture. So we hand it to him and this champion points it to the sky and drinks 1/3 of a handle of whiskey. We couldn't even be mad. He never spoke a word, and took it like a champion. 5 minutes later, he was outside puking his brains out. Still never said a word. To this day, I still respect his dedication.